The president is not happy with his communications team and the way they've handled Comey's news and his dismissal. According to reports, Press Secretary Sean Spicer could be on the hot seat after Tuesday night's bizarre news conference outside the White House. Sarah Huckabee Sanders has been conducting the White House press briefings since then, and sources say the president is evaluating her performance. He likes what he sees. Grr. Is the president seriously thinking about replacing Spicer, or is all this meant to be a distraction from the Comey fallout? Well, let me bring in my very focused party panel tonight. She's a contributor at The Hill and author of Government Gone Wild. It's Kristen Tate, joined by that handsome devil, Michael Malice, Observer columnist and author of Dear Reader, the unauthorized biography of Kim Jong-il. And of course tonight, one of my very favorites, Fox News anchor Julie Banderas. Welcome back to the show, everybody. So these are absolute crazy times. And Michael Malice, when I think of distraction and not seeing Sean Spicer's face every day in that must-see daily press conference, the briefing that he's got, you have to think that it's some sort of distraction. The next place I go is North Korea.
Well, I think what's going on is Trump just wants results, even if it's not in the person's ability to make those results happen. Sean Spicer has been made a laughingstock on Saturday Night Live. Yeah. Trump is a laughingstock across all media. So basically, it seems to me like he'd be more than happy to make Sean Spicer be the fall guy and have that Sarah Huckabee Sanders take his place. But on the other hand, though, it seems like usually when the White House comes in, you have a new president. Yeah. They have their circles, and then through attrition, they get more and more into a bunker mentality, and you have fewer people you trust.
That's absolutely
It's been like a few months, and he's already down to his core loyalists, and half the people are out the door. Katie McFarland got shipped off to Singapore. So this does not bode well for the ability of this White House to move legislation through Congress.
Yeah, no, but you talk about the president really valuing loyalty, you know, almost above all else, and you sort of took issue with what he said.
I don't think she is. I mean, first of all, she is not going to be taking Sean Spicer's role. I think that I believe it is a bit of a distraction, and that's what the White House needs right now. But I don't believe that they're going to move Sean Spicer. Yes, SNL has been having a field day with him, but the bottom line is ratings. And let's not forget who our president is, and he really does love ratings. And he rates. Sean Spicer writes.
But isn't there a softness that she has? You know, she's able to listen.
But he's fun to watch. I mean, hello, have you not watched those news conferences?
I have, and I do, and I don't recall a time in modern political history where people stopped and gathered around TVs to watch daily White House press briefings.
I know. I think Julie is absolutely right. Sean Spicer is so much fun to watch. Yeah. And I think people are too hard on him. You know, being Trump's press secretary is probably the hardest job in Washington, D.C. Not only does he have the media all against him, but Trump doesn't really make it easy. You know, every day he's throwing out some bombastic comment. But I thought Sarah Huckabee Sanders did an amazing job.
I think she's done quite well.
She did do a great job.
Yeah, she wasn't taking anything from the media. I loved how she would respond to some of their annoying questions with just no. You know, and then she would move on. It was great.
That's how you do it, though. I mean, that's taking control of the room. And I do think that that Sean Spicer is adorable and earnest. We'll see what his future holds. With James Comey out of the picture, he could be the next FBI director, and the FBI could reopen the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails.
There were folks within our agency who were frustrated with the outcome of the Hillary Clinton case, and some of those folks were very vocal about those concerns.
Fox News intrepid Catherine Herridge reports that a former FBI agent suggests that frustration and anger still very strong enough that new leadership could revisit the Clinton case and the immunity deals made during the original investigation. So, Malice, are they going to reopen the Hillary case?
Remember, I've been predicting on this show for months that the reason Trump, after the election, said he's not prosecuting Hillary was that so Obama wouldn't pardon her, so that once he's in the White House, the trap is set and he could prosecute. His biggest laugh line was saying if he was president, you'd be in jail. He's petty and vindictive and has many other great qualities. And this is, if there's one thing we can count on Trump doing, it's settling scores. And I have no doubt that the noose is going to be tightening around Hillary Clinton's neck.
It's interesting because McCabe says that, you know, the rank and file did not lose confidence in Comey, but the next sentence is, but a lot of them were really upset with the way the Hillary investigation was handled. Yeah. Which is why Comey's out of a job.
I think it's interesting that there's word that President Trump had made a decision to get rid of Comey months ago. ago, because I think most recently when he comes out and says that there were hundreds of thousands of emails, potentially classified emails, that Huma Abedin had forwarded to Anthony Weiner's computer.
That negates her immunity agreement, by the way.
Exactly. So then it turns out there's a handful, and that she had plugged in her BlackBerry into his laptop, and somehow those emails got backed up. But there is reason there to investigate. I mean,
it's still a transfer of classified information.
It
doesn't matter if you hit the forward button or if you had automatic backup. It's still a transfer. It's still her responsibility. That's still national security.
President Trump isn't going to let this go.
No.
I guarantee.
I don't know. I think Trump's core base would love to see Hillary Clinton like rotting in prison, but I just don't think we're going to get an FBI head who will pursue this. I mean, Trump's FBI director would need 51 votes in the Senate to pass through. There are only 46 Democrats in the Senate, so it's going to be up to the rhinos to decide who gets through, like people like John McCain, Lindsey Graham. I don't see them approving someone like a Trey Gowdy or a Giuliani who will pursue this. And having said that, I think at the end of the day, most Americans don't even want to hear Hillary's name. They want to move on. Middle America's interested in jobs, lower taxes, securing the border.
Let's take a vote. All in favor of a Hillary investigation?
Trust me, I'm in favor of it.
At this table, signify by raising your hand.
Oh, look at that.
Well, it's 3 out of 4.
I'm over it. It's over. The
I just think it's not the top priority.
I think there should be justice in the world.
Absolutely,
and I think if she were president, she would misuse power like a drunken 12-year-old with a lightsaber.
There will not be
and
a conviction.
I've seen it.
I will put money on it.
The party panel returns a little bit later, but first up, while everyone is worried about James Comey's firing, are people ignoring the FBI's excessive surveillance powers? I'm going to talk with Mike Baker, maybe butt heads a little bit. We may see things differently, but we will come to the truth, and that is next.
You're not, here I come, you can't hide. I'm gonna find you and take it.
Lauren Hill and I are best friends. Welcome back. The House is in recess this week, but House Republicans continue to face backlash from their constituents over their tinkering with health care. New Jersey Representative Tom MacArthur, who authored the MacArthur Amendment that helped the Republican plan win enough support to pass the House last week, endured a brutal 5-hour-long town hall in his district last night.
You have been the single greatest threat to my family in the entire world. You are the reason I stay up at night. When I am drowning and you insist that I pay before you will save me, that is immoral, sir. You came for my wife. I will not forgive. I will not forget.
Is he auditioning for the overacting Olympics? Meantime, insurance giant Aetna pulling out of Obamacare, announcing it will not offer policies in Nebraska or Delaware in 2018, following massive losses. Now, last month, they pulled out of Iowa and Virginia, eliminating the health insurer from the exchanges completely. Jonah Goldberg joins me now, senior editor at the National Review and fellow for the American Enterprise Institute. Welcome back, Jonah.
Great to be here.
So, man, I look at these town halls and, you know, last week you wanted to be a passenger on a flight where people were fighting so you could sell the viral video. And this week you got to get your hiney to one of those town halls. That is exciting stuff.
Yeah, no, I particularly liked the sort of the voice of a villain from like The Incredibles.
And what you did to my wife.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I know nothing about that guy. For all I know, he's being entirely sincere, but there is a remarkable amount of theater and sanctimony and hyperbole in all of this.
Yeah.
I was not a big fan of Tom MacArthur. I thought he and the way a lot of the moderates played the game in the healthcare fight was pretty dishonest to begin with. But you know, you got to give him props. He showed up at this thing. They screened to make sure these were actually his constituents, and he stayed for 5 hours, which is what a congressman should do, is listen to his constituents, even the ones who don't like him.
I don't know if he wins the battle. You know, maybe he gets some points in voters' minds next year when they decide whether or not to send him back to Washington. But healthcare is certainly a mess because Obamacare is on a fast track to the death spiral. That seems a foregone conclusion. And there is so much uncertainty what is going to happen with this legislation once it gets to the Senate. And when Ted Cruz is the savior of our healthcare system, I think that's cause for pause.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, you have to feel a little bit for the Republicans. First of all, they haven't done anything yet that Rose Garden victory ceremony was kind of weird, given that it still has to go to the Senate, and then whatever comes out of the Senate has to go back to the House.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they kind of spiked the ball on the 25-yard line. But the problem is, I think it's unfair. But the problems with Obamacare, the controversies, the hassles, the people who lost their plans and all that kind of stuff, that's already all been priced in.
Yeah.
And now the Republicans have inherited a messed up situation, and anything that they do, even though a lot of it is just basically, putting a fresh coat of paint on a condemned building, which is Obamacare, they're going to get the blame for any problem anybody has with health care. And it's politically, it's a real thorny problem. Donald Trump was kind of right when he said the smart thing to do would be just to let it go implode on its own.
Absolutely, because we get either single payer or a free market system. I obviously vote for the latter. That's the only way we're going to get it. It is not with this Republican shellacking. They've tried to shine up a hot TURD, and they're not doing a very good job. Jonah, you do a wonderful job, and I've appreciated your writing, especially of late. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, darling. Great to be here.
Good. Thank you. Quinnipiac University has a new poll on Donald Trump's approval ratings, and the numbers, they don't look very good for the president at all. According to the poll, just 36% approve of the job he's doing. The president is losing support among his base of white voters without a college degree, with a 47% approval. That's 10 points lower than what he got just a month ago. The party panel is back. Kristen Tate, Michael Malice, and Julie Banderas. Now, Kristen, as far as I can tell, you are a white voter with a college degree.
That's
so
right.
You can speak for some of these people whose support has waned. What do you chalk it up to?
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to this poll. As you know, I've been a pretty vocal Trump supporter this last year, and I've been pretty disappointed with the president. I'm not going to lie. I mean, that budget was an insult to every single Trump supporter. He didn't cut spending at all. There was no funding for the wall. He didn't cut funding for PBS or Planned Parenthood. Trump's never going to get the support of the media or the left. The only thing he has left is his base. And if he does not follow through on his promises, he will lose support and he won't get reelected.
But this isn't a traditional base. I mean, these were people who were unhappy, and they went to the one part of the theater they thought wasn't on fire. And so now they're smelling smoke, and he has to do something. He has to do what comes naturally. Forget about party. And actually fulfill some of these campaign promises, many of which I may disagree with.
But for many of us, fire is the goal. I mean, we want to burn down that horrific theater that is Washington. But let me make another point. Quinnipiac, of all the pollsters, is by far the worst.
Okay.
They predicted that Hillary would get North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Florida. They said the Democrat would win the North Carolina Senate race by 5 points. She lost by 5 points, which is an 11-point swing. They are terrible, and according to rumor, they're also all ugly over there. So it's
See, I've heard they're quite attractive.
But the thing is,
but I have a fetish for odd-looking people.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So they always put out these polls that generate a lot of press, but they never pan out, and they're really a crappy. But I agree with Kristen that if Trump isn't going to play to his base like W had to towards the end of his presidency, he's going to have nothing left other than Jared Kushner and Ivanka.
Right.
But Forrest Gump and Ava Perón, that's a pretty good team to have in the White House. That's a compliment to both of them. Absolutely. So what is the threshold where his own party starts talking about impeachment? Because I was talking to some lefty friends of mine, and they were saying it's 35%. Once he reaches 35% approval rating, that's it. Republicans are going to turn, and you will see President Pence.
I want to be an advisor on his administration, not about policy, just about like social media. I want to advise him to stay off of Twitter. I really, truly think that his tweets have hurt him. That and the healthcare vote. I think that the GOP healthcare vote, the left has done such a good job, has been so successful at shooting it down, warning and scaring the poor, the middle class in this country that you're going to die with this healthcare or that your pre-existing conditions are not going to cover.
They're threatening to send ashes to Paul Ryan.
You do not get denied coverage if you walk into an emergency room. I'm sorry, Jimmy Kimmel, but you do not have your child die because you don't have health insurance. And
kids are
conditions
traditionally on their parents' health care
and they are covered by this plan. The only rise in premiums is if you don't continue your coverage, and there's a gap in your coverage. So just continue with your coverage.
Oh, so it's not confusing at all.
But I do believe that, if President Trump could just stay off of Twitter and just keep the negative to himself, come out and say something positive every once in a while.
That's what got him elected.
That's where he excites the base. I disagree. I think Twitter is the least of his worries, and that's where he actually talks to his base.
Oh,
and runs around the media.
But he's
every
also
day are calling him Hitler.
But if he cares so much about what the left thinks of him. He's fueling the left.
Well,
He's
I
giving
care
the media
what our sponsors think of us because I'm not going to get that free MyPillow unless I take a break. Julie,
and the mermaid
Michael,
blanket.
and Kristen. Oh, I'm sitting on one now. Now I'm so tall. All right, coming up, how realistic are the stunts in Hollywood?